Good morning, students. It is Wednesday, April 15th, also known as the Ides of April, because the Ides just means halfway through the month. It doesn't have to be March, but March is the only one that's famous. We're going to get started right away, kind of to make up for the fact that I gave you such a long video yesterday. I've already made a note that for our next unit, we start reading The Prince and the Pauper. When I give notes for that, we are definitely not going to do that over just one day. We'll do it over multiple days because a 40-minute video, that's crazy. So we're just going to jump right in. Couple things. On this thing I gave you, or all the teachers gave you, I actually put the wrong poem down for today. I wrote Maya Angelou, Mother to Son. I kind of put two together. I had the wrong poem. So it's actually a poem by Maya Angelou, but it's called Woman Work. And because I made that mistake, I do have the poem Mother to Son in your poetry packet, but that's by Langston Hughes. And we're actually going to read this poem next week. So you don't have a copy of the poem we're going to read today. But that's okay, because I'm going to add that to the assignment. I made a digital copy of it, so you can look at it that way. The only thing that kind of stinks is that you won't have like it physically in front of your face to do some notes on it that I was going to talk about today, but I'm at least going to introduce it and then show how I do those notes, so at least you have an example. So we're going to read the poem, and you're going to follow those how to read a poem list, those 4 items, like, begin with, just like, what do you observe about the poem? Ask questions. Oh my goodness, my mind is blanking right now. Ask question. Oh yeah, think about what the poem reminds you of, and then finally, don't stress if you don't understand it. We are going to do that upon first reading. I'm going to be paused, do that reading on your own, and then we'll come back and I will show you how we kind of start finding some of those things that we talked about in our notes, like end rhyme or just rhyme, assonance, alliteration, figurative language, and imagery. So yeah, so that's our task for today. And your homework tonight is related to Maya Angelou, the poet, but you don't technically need a copy of the poem to do tonight's homework, so we should be okay on that. I'm going to share my screen, and I might actually have to pause it once or twice and then come back. So if you're like, Ms. Doyle, if you paused and then your face was in a different spot, well, I might do that on purpose. So, okay. All right, let's do it. Let's share screen. I hope you're all staying warm at home. I have been extremely cold in the past few days taking Finn on his walks. So is he. He does his thing where he lifts his paws up because he's super cold. So yeah, I hope it warms up here pretty soon. Okay, screen shared. So this is the doc that I'm going to have included in the assignments today. And the poem is by a poet we've actually read about, Maya Angelou. We read about her before spring break. And she's an incredibly famous poet. And you remember she had a really kind of a tough upbringing, and she had a lot of different jobs and did a lot of different things. So we're going to read another poem by her, and that Mother to Son poem that's on this will be next week, okay? All right, so here's our poem, and there's a couple things I want you to note first. We've got a couple things we're going to fill in this idea, and we have a little chart, and it's going to help you to be able to make notes on a poem and like actually know how to not just find the things, but then note, or yeah, make a note to yourself that you've actually found them so that you can come back to it. Before we do that though, I want to remind you our 4 steps on how to read a poem. Number 1, we always want to begin by just noticing things, what we see, hear, feel, etc. In your homework for last night, the take a poem to lunch, it asks you, how does the poet use imagery? And it gives you things that you smell, like bread baking, things you hear, like the simmering on a stove, things that you see, and things that you taste, food. So that's one of the things we're going to pay attention to. Do we see any of that as well in this poem? Then you're going to be asking questions about the poem. Why? Or what does this mean? Or I wonder why that's included, that kind of thing. And then you're going to be thinking about what the poem reminds you of. Do you have any connection to it? Is there anything you're like, oh, that makes me think of this? And then finally, as always, don't stress out if you don't understand it. There's going to be stuff in every poem you don't understand. There might just be a word that you might need to look up or just have to figure it out. So again, just our reminder, all of this will be included in that doc. So here's our poem, and I actually am going to present for a moment to give it a little bit more, like more close up so you can actually see it. And before we actually start reading though, I want you to go and get stuff from me. We'll wait till after, that's fine. We'll wait till after. The poem is Women Work by Maya Angelou. And I'm going to pause and I want you to read it to yourself for, read the whole way through. And then I want you to go back to that list of things that you can do and see, sorry, I'm trying to go back to this list, the how to read a poem, and see if there's anything that you notice or that you are like what we see, hear, or feel, any questions you have about the poem, or what it reminds you of, that kind of thing. Sorry, I accidentally unshared my screen, my bad. Okay, so go back to this list when you're doing this. So I am going to present again though, okay? All right. And you're going to do that. Okay. Okay, so remember you've just paused me because you just read it on your own. So now that you've read it, I hope that you were able to maybe think of something that you it reminded you of something, or you noticed things that we see, smell, hear, taste, or maybe you have some questions about this poem. Okay, great, that's awesome. What I want you to do right now I'm going to stop my share, because I want to be able to pause the video for a moment, because I need to grab something. Hold on, because this is what you're going to have to go grab in a second. Okay, I'm back. All right, let's go back to share screen. No, not yet. Because this is the thing that I need you to pause the video and go find for me right now. I need you to find five writing implements that are of different color and possibly of the highlighter variety. But I also know that some of you don't have your stuff from school, and that might be where all of your awesome pens and highlighters and all that are. So it can be a random mix. So right here I have a black pen, that might not be as helpful. Red pen, teal or green or bluish green highlighter, orange felt tip pen, green thin tip, yellow highlighter, sweet. You need to have 5 colors, okay? 5 very different colors so that you can obviously tell the difference, because we're going to, the rest of this week, you're going to actually be marking things on the page, and we're going to be color coordinating them. And I know some of you are like, yes, this is going to be so awesome. And I agree, it is. So pause my video, go get yourself 5 items, 5 colors, 5 things you can use to make notes. Because I know you don't have the physical piece of paper right now, but I still want you to have them, and then you have them at the ready for our work tomorrow, okay? I'm pausing the video. Go get it. Okay, going back to share our screen and go back to our poem. This is why you need 5 colors. Do you see on the top right or top right hand side of this poem here? That is where you're going to make yourself a little key. So I need to actually stop share so I can. Yay, I don't need to stop share. Okay, so here's our poem. What you need to know is that we're going to do things like this. We're going to decide that assonance is going to be yellow. And is that my color? Is my color correct on that one? I believe so, yes. And nope, rhyme is going to be yellow. I'm sorry. Assonance is going to be green. Alliteration is going to be pink. This is just for me. You can do whatever colors you want. Figurative language is going to be orange. And imagery is going to be, is going to be blue. Now, the other thing we're going to look at in this poem is we're going to look at our rhyme scheme. And I'm actually going to show you how we can find the rhyme scheme. This one has a pretty interesting rhyme scheme. So it's going to be a little easier to do this if you, I don't know, just have a marker or a pen or a piece of paper, because I'm going to have to use my squiggle draw line and it's going to be weird. So let's zoom in a little bit. View, zoom, let's go to 50. No, let's go a little bit more than that. All right. I told you that rhyme scheme already. My bad. Okay. So we're going to look at this, just this first stanza. Remember, the stanza is the group of words, the chunk that we're like, kind of like a poem's paragraphs. And what I want you to look at are what words rhyme. Now, remember when we were looking at rhyming words, yes, there's things called internal rhyme where there are rhymes within the lines. I don't want you to look for that right now. I only want you to look for end rhyme, where words, if words rhyme at the end of the lines. And we always look at a stanza by itself. So some poems have rhyme schemes that are the same the whole way through, but some poems have rhyme schemes that only exist in a certain stanza, like this poem, for example. So when you're looking at the words that may or may not rhyme, I'm going to just, I hope you're doing this on your own and you're not just waiting for me to do it, because the whole point is for you to practice it. But let's see, I've got the children to tend, the clothes to mend. Oh, that's a rhyme. So you're going to take, I'm going to take my little squiggle and I'm going to connect those because those two words rhyme. And I'm going to thicken this a little bit so it's more obvious you can see it. And since those two words rhyme, we're going to highlight them. So tend, we're going to highlight in yellow. Nope, that's not what I wanted to do. I want this. I need to go to highlighter, excuse me. Yellow. And mend also rhymes, so we're going to do yellow. Every time you find a rhyme, even if it doesn't rhyme with like the other words that you're finding, I still want you to use the same color because that's just to show rhymes. We did this little line here to show that these two words rhyme, because look at the next. The floor to mop, the food to shop. Those don't rhyme with the lines before it, but they rhyme with each other. So I'm going to do another squiggle. If you had a pencil, you could just connect them and be way easier. And we're going to thicken it so it's a little bit easier to see. We're not going to do this for the whole poem because I've already actually done it later on. So I'm just kind of showing you going through the process. And then mop and shop both rhyme. So we are going to highlight them in yellow. Now, let's pause and let's think about our rhyme scheme, what's over here on the right. Remember, you look at the first line. No matter what, the first line is always, 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 because there's no other thing it can be, an A. That's just how we start. So this line here, the first line is an A. The next line, you check, does it rhyme or does it not rhyme? Tend, mend, we've already noted that it rhymes. So the next line is also an A. Third line, does mop rhyme with mend? No, so we need a new letter. We need to now switch to B. Then we got something pretty cool. Does the third line rhyme with the next one? It does, so that's another B. Now, rhyme schemes usually exist as 4 letters. Sometimes if it's intentionally like 5 or 6, that happens. But in general, because this is so long, it's usually going to be just those 4 letters, and then it repeats or extends. So let's look at the 5th and the 6th line. Then the chicken to fry, the baby to dry. They rhyme. So we're going to draw ourselves a little squiggle. I'm going to make it teal, and I'm going to thicken it. Okay, and then I'm going to, because they rhyme, I'm going to check my little key here. Oh, yep, that's yellow. That's yellow. Now, if we were to think about this rhyme scheme, some students would want to then go, oh, well, if they didn't rhyme with the lines before, so we need a new letter, and they both rhyme. But if you look at the rest of this poem, this stanza, that means we'd be at C, C, D, D, E, E, F, F, G, G. And that's just not how we do it in poetry. We keep it simple. So our rhyme scheme for this first stanza is A, A, B, B. Now, you're going to, and you'll see this in the last one I did, which everything's already all done. I've got all of the rhyming words done. I'm not going to finish this stanza. You can see it later. Now let's do some alliteration. Do we see any times where you have a repeated initial, meaning first or beginning, consonant sound? No, actually we don't have it in this one. Okay, so we don't have any alliteration to look for. What about some assonance? We'll come back to that. Let's keep going with rhyme, okay? So we're gonna look at the next stanza. Shine on me, sunshine. Rain on me, rain. Fall softly, dewdrops, and cool my brow again. All right. So some students would say, Miss Doyle, there is no rhyme in this. Well, there slightly is. And we didn't talk about this formally, but I am going to tell you about it because it's something that happens a lot in poetry, and it happens a lot, especially like Shakespeare does this a lot, because it's not easy to make everything rhyme perfectly. So here we actually do have a rhyme, and it's called a slant rhyme. So these two lines, and listen to how I say it, and you'll maybe start to get it. Shine on me, sunshine. Rain on me, rain. Fall softly, dewdrops, and cool my brow again. Yeah, I know that's not how we say the word again, but again, or slightly changing how you pronounce it, makes this be what we call a slant rhyme. That's just something that we do in poetry because it doesn't always work to make it rhyme perfectly, but it rhymes close enough that we actually do consider it a rhyme, and it's a specific kind of rhyme called a slant rhyme. Cool? So let's look at our rhyme scheme then. If these two words, something I don't like about working with this that keeps moving up. If these two words we're going to consider a rhyme, then what is our rhyme scheme for this stanza? Shine on me, sunshine. Well, that's the first line, no matter what, it's an A. Rain on me, rain. Does rain and sunshine rhyme? No. B. Fall softly, dewdrops. Does that rhyme with either of the previous ends of the line? No. C. And then because we know that rain and again are a slant rhyme, we're going to put B. Okay? So just because this rhyme scheme up in this stanza is AABB does not mean it has to stay that way throughout the rest of the poem. Okay? you're going to continue to do the rhyme scheme for the rest of the poem. And we're going to look for a couple other things. We have some of our examples of our colors here that we can add to this stanza. Shine on me, sunshine, rain on me, rain. Fall softly, fall softly, dewdrops, and cool my brow again. Dewdrops is actually 2 words. So this is what we call alliteration. These 2 words, dewdrops. It is the same beginning consonant sound, okay? Cool. Storm, blow me from here with your fiercest wind. Let me float across the sky till I can rest again. Ooh, we have another slant rhyme here. I know it sounds weird, but you can also take a hint that she did a slant rhyme with the word again here. So there's a slant rhyme between wind and again here, even though there lots of students are like, that doesn't sound anything like it. Well, it's close. You do 2 point, you do this. All right. And so A, B, C, E. So this rhyme scheme actually here it'll be way easier when I have this on a piece of paper for you, I promise. This is my first time ever trying to do it like this, and it's kind of a pain in the rear end. Oh my goodness. Okay, so what I want you to do is I want you to try to see if you can find the rest of the things that rhyme in this poem, because it's not letting me do it right now. And there is technically an answer key down here. So I want you to pause right now and see if you can find any more rhymes. And I also want you to look for maybe some alliteration. If you're able to find some assonance, which is those vowel sounds that sound the same, that'd be awesome. We're going to talk about it in a little bit though, but I want you to pause me right now. And I want you to try to do this looking at the poem. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to zoom it back out so you can see the whole poem. And then I want you to pause, take a look, and we will come back together and look at it as one, okay? Pause me. Have you paused? Okay. So we are going to actually skip down to look at what it looks like when we do all of this, like when we're all done. This is something we would have done together in class. Like we would have literally gone line by line and all of us would have said, oh, hey, I found this as a group. It's kind of weird to do it online, so that's why I just did it already for us. So this is the fully marked up poem. And this is something I did in college as an English major. Like this is just one of those things when you're reading poetry, because there are so few words, you want to do a really close reading, and it helps you to find these items, okay? So let's zoom in a little bit, just so it's a little easier to see. Okay, so in this poem, we have a couple examples of alliteration, a couple examples of assonance. Remember that assonance is green. So children to tend, children, 10, children, 10. That F sound is the same in both, so that's what we call assonance. And you can see I only highlighted the vowel because that's the thing that's being repeated, or that's rhyming, not rhyming. That's being repeated. I connected each of the rhyming lines, and we've got cane to cut, alliteration, see the sick, alliteration, and shine on me, sunshine, so that shine, sun. Then we have fall and soft, those are assonance, dewdrops, alliteration. And then I want to talk about this spot down here, this penultimate, the second to last stanza. This teal, this blue is that imagery. Fall gently snowflakes, cover me with white, cold icy kisses, and let me rest tonight. That is definitely appealing to not just your what it looks like, but maybe what it would feel like, because most of us know that feeling of, well, after this weekend, of snowflakes actually like falling on you, and that time when it's really, really thick and it actually like doesn't melt when it lands on you. Yep, we know that feeling. And so that's where that imagery that the author is painting a picture. And then finally, this cold icy kisses. Cold icy kisses is definitely using some figurative language. And so it's actually what we would call some personification, that kisses and can't really be cold and icy. I think it's much more. And so this is some of the things I want you to be looking at when you are reading not just this poem, but the rest of the poems in this. We're actually going to, how did I put that piece of? Starting tomorrow, I'm actually going to show you on the piece of paper what it looks like, but I want you to have 5 colors so that we can do this markup. I want you to be prepared for tomorrow to actually kind of be willing to look at those things and mark those up on your paper, because they're going to help you with the rest of your homework for the rest of this week. Now, your homework for tonight is about that thing we focused on that's in yellow, end rhyme. Remember, end rhyme is just the last word in a line. Okay, so it's always going to be at the end. You will not see end rhyme in the middle because it's not at the end, right? Okay, your homework tonight is an end rhyme assignment, and it's actually probably the most fun one because you get to be the most creative. In this assignment, you are going to be given some rhyming words. So we're taking some of these pairs, words that rhyme, and then your task will be to use at least 5 of those rhyming pairs and create your own poem with those end rhyme. The rest of your lines don't have to rhyme, just like some of hers don't. That's totally cool. But you do at least need to have those pairs rhyming somewhere. They can be right next to each other, like they can be the first and the second line if you want, or you can have them, skip a line. That's cool too. This is, like we said, poetry is about being creative and having fun. And the thing I want you to focus on, though, is utilizing or incorporating that idea of end rhyme. And then once you've done that, either on the computer or on the paper, I want you to actually circle or underline which words you had rhyming, so I can see that you know that that's where end rhyme is, okay? I also would like you to give it a title, meaning title your poem. It's something you're going to write. I want you to have a title for it. If you have any questions, as always, please send me a message. I've never had to do this via computer. This has always been an in-class activity that led us into homework. So if I wasn't totally clear, please let me know and I can answer any questions. But yeah, so I think that I'm just gonna cut us off so I don't go too long, and I hope you have a good rest of the day. And this is your homework tonight. This document that we're looking at will be shared in the assignments for today, and I will see you guys tomorrow. Have a good rest of your day. Bye-bye.